Members, I don't go to the well. It's the first time in my 7 years I've ever gone to the well to make a debate, and I do so at this time because it's important. It's important. Those of you who've served in this body with me for the last number of years, who've watched what this state has gone through in terms of bad economic times, it's important. This discussion, the future of our children, the future of our senior citizens, the future of those with disabilities, this debate is important. We've heard we must believe in what one wise, well-revered, respected Republican president of the United States once said: we must somehow believe in voodoo economics. George Herbert Walker Bush, when he ran against Ronald Reagan, said it then, and he still believes it today, that trickle-down economics is nothing but voodoo economics. And folks, I've said it a dozen times. You cannot take causation and correlation and make the two go together. We didn't cut income taxes and watch our economy soar. Our economy soared because of growth revenue from gas and oil, and then we cut taxes. If those income tax cuts that we passed in 2004 and 2005 had done so many wonderful things for us, what happened in 2008? What happened in 2009? What happened to $1 billion in cut revenue? Those tax cuts didn't save us from that. And you know the bad thing about it is in 2007, none of us looked out and said, in a year and a half, we're going to fall off a cliff. But we're being told now by the chairman of appropriations that just go ahead and accept it. Life is good, it's rosy. In a year and a half, when this tax cut goes into effect, it'll be great. Can you know that? Of course not. So I want to give many of you a variety of reasons to vote against this legislation. A variety. We've already talked about the fact that we have no budget, and the gentleman from Seminole said, well, that's no big deal. This tax cut doesn't affect the budget. This bill does. There's $60 million to pay for the Capitol. How do we know what education's going to get, what seniors are going to get? We don't know that. But yet we're told to go ahead and spend $60 million right now without that knowledge. That's fiscally irresponsible. We're told, well, it's okay to put the two issues together. Maybe you're a true fiscal conservative, a Tea Party conservative. Follow the Constitution. This is log rolling, and you heard Representative Reynolds say it. There's your reason to vote against it. Maybe you're one of those tax cut conservatives like Representative from Seminole says, we got to have a tax cut. Well, guess what? 3 years until you get your tax cut. If it's so wonderful, do it now. So vote against the bill. If you believe we ought to have a tax cut now, vote against this bill, send it back and say, give me a tax cut today. Maybe you're somebody like me who looks to other leaders, for example. I said it in my questioning to Representative Martin. I said, explain to me how when the citizens of Oklahoma City decided to improve their town, they didn't say, let's cut taxes and broaden the base, create an incentive to bring people in. The most Republican members of this state said, let's increase taxes. They didn't say, well, if we increase taxes, people aren't going to flock to our city. They're going to go to Del City and Midwest City instead to shop. Oh, no, they said, let's increase taxes. They did it, and we have got one of the best and brightest cities in the entire country because of it. Those tax increases didn't hurt this state or hurt our city. They did just the opposite. We're told, well, the uncertainty of the budget's no big deal because just trust me, you'll get $70 million. Well, how about the uncertainty of an intangible property tax that could cost our state over $100 million? Or the uncertainty of a lawsuit that we just lost that could cost us $420 million. Nobody knows how that's going to affect us, but yet we're told, go ahead and run out a tax cut. Last year, we were told by the governor and the Speaker of the House and others that tax cuts had to be revenue neutral. Maybe you're one of those who believe that tax cuts ought to be revenue neutral. This one isn't. You can vote against it for that reason. Maybe you're someone who maybe believes in tax cuts, but believes they ought to be fiscally responsible. When Governor Henry and Republican leaders passed the largest tax cut in state history, they did so and they attached it to a 4% growth trigger, such that if the economy did what it did in 2008 and 2009, we would not cut taxes. Do you remember that? The tax cut was set to drop another 0.25% in 2008 and 2009, and it didn't take place because of the foresight of our leaders, both Republicans and Democrats, that put a 4% growth trigger on that tax cut. Guess what? If in 2015 our economy does what 2008 did to us, we're cutting by $120 million. Regardless. Even if we fall off a cliff by $1 billion, we're going to cut it another $120 million more. Explain to me how that is fiscal responsibility at all. There's no trigger. And what trigger does exist for the second level of cuts only exists to the level of the cut. We could grow less than 1%, ladies and gentlemen, and we're still going to cut the income tax in 2016. That is fiscally irresponsible. How about those of you who say that tax cuts ought to be broad and apply to everybody? 42% of Oklahomans get no benefit. None. 42%. And of those who do get a benefit, $80 a year. A year. We had a friend from Oklahoma City say, well, or from Weatherford say, we need colas. His mother needs colas. An $80 a year cola is not what my grandmother needs to survive. Matter of fact, I would argue that she probably falls in the under $36,000 a year category like my grandmother, and thus would see $9 back. That's not a cost of living, that's a joke. That doesn't help anybody pay for anything, gas, health insurance, nothing. So what are we looking at? What are we looking at? I've read editorial after editorial in the Oklahoman and the World. I've heard members of the Republican majority come out here and run out bill after bill that does a variety of things. And I want to tick that list off for you. I've heard folks that we respect, people like our constituents, who over 65% of them oppose this plan. Over 65% oppose this plan. And you want to know why? Because this is why. These are the people and the responses they've received in the last 4 years. We had students say, please don't increase my class size. Please give me new books. And for 4 years we've told them, I'm sorry, we can't afford it. We've had teachers say, please don't increase my class size. Give me more support staff. And for 4 years we were told, I'm sorry, you can't afford it. They said, please don't cut my national board certification. And we were told, I'm sorry, we want to fund it, but we just can't afford it. We had higher education folks come out here and say, please give us more revenue. Don't cut us some more so that we don't have to increase tuition. And we looked them square in the eye and we said, I'm sorry, we just can't afford it. We had students who, at no fault of their own, because their mother happened to marry the man that she loves, and that guy happened to make $20,000 at Walmart, we were told we have to cut their Oklahoma Promise scholarship. Why? Because we just can't afford it. We've got public employees. Our legislative assistants haven't had a pay raise in 4 years. Why? We just can't afford it. Our state troopers haven't had a pay raise. Why? Just can't afford it. Our police officers and firefighters are struggling to have their pensions funded and to get their pay raises, and we're saying we'd love to do more, but we just can't afford it. Our corrections officers are staffed at 69%. 30% of them qualify for welfare. When they come out here and ask for help, we look them square in the eye and say, I'm sorry, we just can't afford it. We have county roads and bridges. We're taking money, robbing Peter to pay Paul this year, to give county roads and bridges $30-some-odd million from stealing from one agency and giving it to another. Why not give it to them directly? Well, we're told we just can't afford it. We've got the county assessors desperately needing new money for computers and technology. And we said, give us the money out of GR. And they said, no, we're going to steal it from another increase. And we're told why? Because we just can't afford it. We've got water infrastructure needs in western Oklahoma that haven't been met. And they say, why won't you get us water out there? You got so much in southeastern Oklahoma. And when we asked why, they said, I'm sorry, we just can't afford it. We've got mental health, the 7,000 people on the disabilities waiting list that could wait up to 10 years to get help. And those parents ask, why? Give us some money. And we're told to tell them we just can't afford it. Norse and Sork, got to be closed. Why do they have to be closed? When those parents say, give us choices, we look them in the eye and say, we just can't afford it. Medicaid expansion would cost us about $60 million a year to take care of poor folks. And we're told, no, we can't do it because we just can't afford it. We've got $600 million in uncompensated care in Oklahoma, and they said, help us. And we say we can't because we just can't afford it. Senior nutrition centers are broken down. Say, help us. And we say we just can't afford it. Members, I'm asking you to do the same thing you've done to your constituents for the last 5 years. Look at the governor and the speaker, and when they ask you to vote for a tax cut, tell them we just can't afford it.
Representative Martin Scott, you're recognized for 10 minutes closing debate in favor of passage of House Bill 2032.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, we find ourselves here again at this debate about whose money really is it? Is it our constituents' money, or is it the state's money? That's really what this debate is really truly about, and it is a philosophical agreement. I appreciate my colleagues who have debated for this particular initiative. They've done a fantastic job of outlining the facts and just exactly what a tax cut will do for the economy of our state. And I appreciate the minority leader. I appreciate his passion. I appreciate his dedication. I know it's pure from his heart. If we were so reliant on gross production taxes, if that was what caused the tank, that was the bottom fell out on gross production taxes, why in the world would we have $212 million of growth revenue today? Gross production taxes are vitally important to our Oklahoma economy. They certainly are, but they're not the only thing. We have enjoyed fantastic success. I've already mentioned this, and I hate doing this just because we've had this debate already once this session, so I hate to go over this again, but it bears repeating. We have one of the fastest growing economies in the country. The 8th lowest unemployment. We're creating jobs unlike most states would only dream of right now in all sectors. People want to be in Oklahoma for a myriad of reasons. Now, I guess the question comes down to, what do you want more of? Because I wonder if my friends on the other side of the aisle, it's more and more and more. Well, maybe the taxpayers are saying, I want more of my own money. And maybe it's incumbent on us to do that, to give them more of their own money. Many of you who know me know that I'm a big fan of Star Wars. If you come into my office, you're going to see a little plaque on the credenza that says, "Do or do not. There is no try." Today, folks, is the time for us to make it happen. We have an opportunity. This is not for politics. It's for all the right reasons. And I ask you to join me in doing two fantastic things. Two fantastic things. One, use potential income tax to fix one of the greatest symbols of our state, this Capitol. That's kind of been left out of this whole debate, is we have an opportunity to fix this building with this bill. Let's do it. And the other is to give tax relief to our constituents. And in doing so, Mr. Leader, we can do the things that you talked about. We have made great strides. It's not by coincidence that every year we cut taxes, we appropriated more money. It's a dynamic effect that happens every time we do it. While I wish that somebody could point out that this was somebody's dream world, it's just not the case. The facts are, it happened and it worked. I ask you to join me today to do the right thing. Let's make this happen. Let's not only fix this Capitol, but let's give meaningful tax relief to our constituents, which will in turn help drive this economy even further than it is today. Thank you very much and appreciate your yes vote.